Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. Of course, yesterday we talked about the Xbox Showcase. Again, wow, they did a great job. But if you missed that video, go ahead and check it out. I will leave it in the link in the description below. However, this week, it's going to be quite busy with a few other showcases. We will talk about the Ubisoft Forward event today, and then amidst all of these different showcases, we also got a pretty major update for the Microsoft Activision Blizzard acquisition. Things are really starting to heat up now between the FTC and Microsoft, as the FTC, in a surprise move, is reportedly seeking a preliminary injunction to temporarily block Microsoft from completing the buyout. This, however, is actually a move that Microsoft welcomes, and I'll explain why that's something they want. As always, though, guys, we do have a lot to get into, so let's just go ahead and jump right into things. Starting off with a few corrections from yesterday's video. I do strive for accuracy on this channel as much as possible, and there were two mistakes that I made that I need to address. The first of which is for Compulsion's new game, South of Midnight. In yesterday's video, I said it was a first-person action-adventure game, but that's actually wrong. It instead is a third-person, not first. Honestly, I should have caught that and posted it, but thankfully you all did correct me in the comments. This other one, however, I actually was not aware of at the time, but apparently Flight Simulator 2024 is not just a simple expansion. Rather, it's actually a full-on sequel, the next generation for Flight Simulator with a career mode and everything. So, yeah, the Flight Simulator community is going strong here, and if you do like this series, this all but ensures years and years of content to come. Next up here, though, let's go and get to the news, because Persona 3 Reload did get its official announcement yesterday at the Xbox Showcase, though there has been a looming question about its content and what it actually includes. And that reared its ugly head yesterday when it was confirmed that the female protagonist that was in the Persona 3 Portable re-release will not be in the game. Now, if you're not aware of this, in typical Persona fashion, Atlus, they released various versions of Persona 3 after its original release, which added extra content, one of which was the choice to play as a female protagonist, which was added in Persona 3 Portable. Now, there's also a lot of extra content in Persona 3 FES, such as its epilogue, The Answer. So a lot of people were disappointed about this announcement, and they then assumed Reload won't have any of the extra content from the FES and Portable re-releases. However, apparently that's not entirely true, as Atlus has since clarified that by saying Persona 3 Reload was a project meant to recreate the very first Persona 3 for modern platforms. So this means that we will not include the later story added in Persona 3 FES or the female protagonist from Persona 3 Portable. However, this does not mean that certain elements in the main story added in FES are not included in Reload at all. So that's kind of a confusing answer, but more or less the way I read this is that Persona 3 Reload will come with some of the improvements that were added in FES. Probably its gameplay elements such as extra social links and things like that. However, as far as the added story such as the epilogue, The Answer, will not be in Reload. And this is just me speculating, but truthfully, I wouldn't be surprised if this is just Atlus being Atlus. In other words, they could be keeping their options open to release an enhanced version of Persona 3 Reload at a later date. We'll see about all of that. But either way, Persona 3 Reload is looking good, and I'm certainly excited when it releases early in 2024. Now, also, Final Fantasy 16, that's set to release in just 10 days. Woohoo, right? Let's go. But some good news here is that Square Enix just dropped a new playable demo that you can check out right now if you have a PlayStation 5. This will include 2 hours of gameplay being its prologue, and even better, if you decide you want to pick up Final Fantasy 16's full release later this month, your data will carry over into the full game. Square Enix, they have been doing this with a lot of their big releases over the last couple years, but they are doing something a little bit more this time. It seems that they're kind of evolving their demo strategy with Final Fantasy 16, because after you complete the 2-hour prologue, you'll then unlock a new special battle demo where you experience some of Clive's additional abilities. So basically, these are abilities that you'll gain later on in the game, not in the prologue. And with this extra part of the demo, not only does it give you that head start with its story prologue, but it also opens up an opportunity to more fully explore its gameplay and its combat. It is kind of hard to fully grasp combat in just a 2-hour window, and this additional demo kind of fixes that problem. So I'd say the demo is kind of the best of both worlds. If you just want a head start and nothing more, hey, you can download this demo and play through the prologue. Or if you're on the fence and if you want to see how it feels before making your final decision, well, this demo also offers that as well. Okay, so let's go talk about this Microsoft Activision Blizzard acquisition, though, because in a surprise turn of events, the FTC filed a motion for a preliminary injunction to temporarily block Microsoft from acquiring Activision Blizzard. Also, they filed for a temporary restraining order as well. Now, the timing of all of this is quite interesting, because what this means is that the FTC might know something that leads them to believe that Microsoft is preparing to close the buyout imminently. And that's why they're filing an injunction here. There's been some speculation that there could be a possible settlement with the CMA incoming. That's just hearsay, though, all speculation. But right now, the FTC claims that Microsoft and Activision have quote-unquote represented they could close anytime after June 15th. So this has the FTC running to court for both an injunction and a TRO, which could actually play into the hands of Microsoft, not the FTC. Microsoft themselves today did actually respond to those early reports of a preliminary injunction. And I mean, as you can see here, Microsoft's president Brad Smith explained exactly why they welcome this process. He told the CNBC, "We welcome the opportunity to present our case in federal court. We believe accelerating the legal process in the United States will ultimately bring more choice and competition to the market." So this is something that Microsoft themselves want. See, it's been known for a while that Microsoft prefers this case to be in federal court, where they have a better case, and they also believe that it will accelerate the decision-making process. You know, the big thing for the FTC is that up to this point, they've largely relied on stall tactics. I think that that's been fairly obvious to most people, but they want all of this stuff to happen after July 18th, which is the deadline for the acquisition. They've been hoping that Microsoft and Activision will split ways at that point instead of actually having to go to court over it. So what's going to kind of happen here, though, with this injunction is that the FTC does have to prove why it's needed in the first place. For the time being, this is just a motion, but they will have a hearing at a federal court in California, possibly with the same judge who denied the gamers lawsuit a preliminary injunction. He's already familiar with this case, so that bodes well for Microsoft. And once there's 4 different requirements that the FTC will have to prove to get a preliminary injunction. Now, from my understanding, one is that the FTC will have to prove their likelihood of success on the merits, that they have a good chance of winning their case against Microsoft, which, you know, that right there is possibly going to be their biggest hurdle, especially if they get the same judge, which, again, oversaw the gamers lawsuit. He's already familiar with what happened here, and he's already denied one preliminary injunction. So we'll see how that shapes up. Number 2, though, is that they have to prove likelihood of irreparable harm if a preliminary injunction isn't granted. 3 is after proving the first 2, they must show both equities and hardships are in their favor. And then lastly, they have to show that the preliminary injunction is the best for public interest. Now, we should get an answer soon on whether or not the preliminary injunction is granted. This does speed things up quite a bit. If it's not granted, though, this will be a significant loss for the FTC, and that could be it for them. I mean, we'll see how all this shapes up, but if they do succeed, however, the FTC, they want this acquisition protected until their own case, which starts on August 2nd. Like I said, I mean, things are definitely heating up right now, and this could be the end game depending on how all of this unfolds. As usual, though, do stay tuned, and I'll keep you updated as we hear more. All right, though, so let's kind of move on here to kind of the game stuff again, as we do have another showcase to talk about, which this time is Ubisoft Forward. So we'll kind of go over some of the highlights here, which includes Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. We did finally get some legitimate gameplay here. It is a first-person shooter where you play as one of the Na'vi after 15 years of cryosleep. When waking up, she seeks to protect her home. Interestingly enough, though, Avatar will have optional 2-player co-op, which I'd say that that's pretty cool. I wasn't really expecting that. And as you would expect from the Avatar series, though, it does have those gorgeous environments to explore. I think that that's really the highlight of this game. You can also ride around and customize your own flying creature. It honestly seems like they did a good job at incorporating what makes the movie special in the game. The environments, they look great and lush. The wildlife is interesting. You can fly around. I mean, everything that you see in the movies, it is on full display here in this game. But most importantly is its release date. And, well, it will in fact release this year on December 7th. So, I mean, yeah, that holiday period is just really starting to fill out here. Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown, also got some more gameplay footage today, which seriously looks quite impressive. Now, I do understand that there's been some negative impressions over its initial reveal. It's getting downvoted into oblivion, and maybe it wasn't completely what fans were expecting. I get that. And as I said the other day, I don't really care for the character design myself. But it legitimately, when it comes to its gameplay, looks like a good Metroidvania with all of its time manipulation abilities. That's what really stood out to me with its new gameplay today, and the boss fights, they just look incredibly fun. So before giving up on this game, maybe check out its new footage. I think what they showed today really did a lot for this game. The only thing is, though, is that it is a little higher priced than I think some were maybe expecting. It will be $50, but at the same time, to be fair, that's right in line with Metroid Dread as well, which I believe that was $60 when it first launched, and, you know, it did go on to be the best-selling Metroid game to date. So, I mean, if you do like these type of games, keep an eye on Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown when it releases next year on January 18th. Now, they also announced a release date for the Crew Motorfest. If you're interested in that game, it will take place in Hawaii this time, which I say that is quite interesting, and you'll be able to play it on September 14th. So, there you go. And then, obviously, Assassin's Creed, you know it was going to be here. The new VR title, Assassin's Creed Nexus, will release this holiday, where you can play as some of the previous Assassin's Creed heroes, such as Ezio, Cassandra, and Connor. Kind of seems like a love letter to the Assassin's Creed fans. They then showed a little gameplay on their new mobile game, Assassin's Creed Jade, which is set in China. I mean, I'm not really a mobile gamer myself, but it does look ambitious for the mobile market, I will say that much. If you do like mobile games, and if you like Assassin's Creed, you can register for its closed beta right now. So there you go. The other two big games for this showcase, though, outside of Avatar, were Assassin's Creed Mirage and then Star Wars Outlaw. Between the two, we got 17 minutes of new gameplay, so I'll just kind of start this off with Assassin's Creed Mirage. I mean, we've known for a while that this game is going back to the roots of the Assassin's Creed franchise, but now, I mean, with this new gameplay here, that's more clear than ever before. Its gameplay looks quite similar to the first three games, but with some new mechanics and abilities thrown in as well. It really reminds me a lot of Assassin's Creed 1 and 2 specifically. It's more about stealth, assassination, and escaping your enemies. Now, I will say the AI always amuses me when it comes to stealth-based games. As much as I love stealth-based games, the lack of awareness, they only stand out to me in demos like this. You know, apparently they just can't see a human being walking on a tightrope just slightly above them. You would think that would be obvious, but you all know what I'm talking about. AI never has any peripheral vision, but that's typical for these type of games. Assassin's Creed Mirage, though, I think is exactly what this franchise needs right now, though. I like this return to form here, and it seems like they're doing a good job with that. Now, as for Star Wars Outlaw, however, this was revealed at yesterday's Xbox showcase, but we did get an additional 10 minutes of gameplay here, and it's an open-world, single-player Star Wars game where you play as an outlaw instead of a Jedi. It is gun-based, there's vehicular combat, and even space combat, which is great to see. More or less, this is a big AAA Star Wars game, a game that I think a lot of fans have been wanting for years and years. But what made this trailer feel so special was how its world came to life. The sound effects of the bullets flying over your head, the iconic breeds of characters that we've seen in the movies, the way the sand blows in the wind, and the vehicles themselves. The atmosphere was quite surreal in this gameplay demo here. It all just kind of popped off screen, and it really made you feel a part of the beloved Star Wars universe that so many love. Now, the shooting mechanics, though, they had to have been playing on easy difficulty here because they had that stormtrooper accuracy going on. They were just kind of sporadically shooting all over the place, but I imagine that was just a difficulty thing, or at least I hope so. But other than that, I thought it looked quite good, and it will release sometime in 2024. You Star Wars fans out there, you all have to be quite happy with all of these games coming in the next few years. Let's go and take a look at the poll of the day, though, where I asked you, well, after seeing Starfield's deep dive, are you fine with it being 30 frames per second? And yes, the vast majority of you all actually are. 69% said yes, while 23% said no. So, as I said yesterday, I don't think most people are going to be all that bothered by this, considering just how ambitious it is. It doesn't really seem like a Redfall situation. It doesn't seem like this game's being rushed out or anything like that, but rather, it's just a massive game. Now, I've seen some people say, just lower the resolution to achieve 60 frames, at least give us that option. But it's not necessarily that easy. There's other things that could be playing here, and it kind of seems like with this game, it might be CPU intensive. But to me, even with all that, this game, it really does look amazing, and that's ultimately the most important thing here. While I liked 60 frames myself, and I'm not rooting for every game to be 30, let's be clear about that, but Starfield is a rare occurrence where I'm okay with it considering its ambition and skill. It's like Zelda Tears of the Kingdom to me. It's a big game, and while that's on a different platform, I get that. My reasoning still stands. 30 frames didn't keep me from enjoying it, and as you've seen all across the industry, it didn't really keep anybody from enjoying it. It is listed as one of the greatest games ever made. So that right there is going to be the key component of all this, and from what I've seen from Starfield, it looks pretty amazing as well. One way or the other, though, as you can see from the results, it does seem like most people seem to have that line of thinking as well. It seems like one of the few games that fans are, possibly okay with having 30 frames. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode. But if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.